With me now, you know her, you love her, Kari Lake, everybody. Come on, give her a hand. Kari, thank you for coming back. I believe it was it 4 years ago we first met you right down the way, and you were thinking about a political run.
Yes, that's right.
And from there, we run into you all the time. Did the FlashPoint Lives. I almost didn't get the program back from you that night.
That was fun. You know what? And we might do the same right now. Gene, you just sit back and I'll talk to everybody.
Okay.
No, that was fun. That was a fun event. But you know, I was just doing an interview and someone said, how did you end up in politics? And I said, it's when I left my job in the news. I realized the news had become so biased and not willing to ask questions of our government, not willing to push back where they should, that I quit my job of 27 years covering this great state. And the wonderful people of Arizona reached out by the dozens and said, would you please run for office? So I was mulling that around, I think, when we first met.
That's right.
It's a big thing to jump into politics.
Oh, it is.
And boy, you know, I always say God only shows you the part of the path you can handle. Had God shown me the whole path, I might have said, I think I'm going to pass on this one, but I think he shows you what you can handle. He gives you exactly what you can handle to help you grow and develop. And I wouldn't trade any of it. Even as it turned out the way it is, I wouldn't trade any of it because I think it's been part of the fight for our freedom in America.
It absolutely has. Now let's talk about the fact, what you said, stepping out, because when you stepped out of the news and broadcast, and you didn't know exactly where you were going to be heading. Right. You just knew you had to step out. That was not, now it's kind of the trend to talk about how biased in the news media. But for a long time, we were uphill to help people understand. Then there was that time, as we started coming out of COVID, like, wait a minute, the news isn't telling us the truth anymore. And that's what has been so shocking to the American people. They kind of felt that somebody somewhere is telling us the truth.
Yeah.
Then they found out, no, they're getting the corporate line, or they're getting the Pfizer line, or whoever is supporting them line. Mm-hmm. Do you have hope for legacy news, or do you think it's a dead, gone thing of the past?
Well, let me hit the first part of that.
Yep.
You're right. When I did step away, it was unheard of. As a matter of fact, I've had many people who stepped away since then who said, you inspired me to step away. I knew something was wrong, and I didn't want to be part of the problem. Remember, the news during COVID was dividing people.
Absolutely.
Filling them with fear, trying to, encouraging the government to overstep and try to force people out of their jobs that they wouldn't take a shot. All this stuff was going on. And then they were trying to push the irregularities in the 2020 election and saying you can't ask questions about that.
That's right.
Since when can you not question election officials and government officials? That's insane. So it was during that I walked away, and I walked away from a 7-figure contract and said, I can't do this because I got to make sure there's going to come a day where I'm meeting God.
Right.
And I want that meeting to go well. Yeah. And if I'm lying down here, that meeting's not going to go well, especially once you realize it's gone so bad. But now you're right. More people are stepping away. More people are finding the courage to do the right thing. I love that people are finding the courage to wear their MAGA hats. I mean, something so simple.
It's true.
Had we done that back in 2016 and 17, but everyone was being canceled when they did that.
Right.
And people were afraid of being canceled. Now we've stepped through that fear. We realize, guess what? You survive. Someone says something bad about you, they write a nasty headline, you survive. And so I'm really encouraged that more people are finding that courage. They're realizing we're at the 11th hour where we were going to lose America, and if people didn't start standing up and being strong and risking being attacked, then we would lose America. Now, is there hope for the corporate media? I talked a little bit about that in my speech. I was really hoping that they would correct themselves, see the error in their ways, realize that over the past 8 to 10 years they've been covering President Trump, his family, his administration, his policies in a way that was absolutely biased, no balance, no neutrality, and oftentimes just full of lies the way they covered him. I thought that they would finally, after this election, go, okay, we need to take a breath, recalibrate, either that or we die.
That's right.
Our industry dies. I don't see a lot of recalibration going on.
No, and it seems to be.
So the good news is, and this is where I didn't mean to steal, the good news is they are going to be completely obsolete. And I said during my speech, but I did find one thing the fake news is good for. You know what that is?
What's that?
They are a barometer. Whenever they're attacking somebody, going after them. You see the Joy Reids of the world, the Rachel Maddows, whenever the Anderson Coopers, whenever they're attacking somebody, that's our barometer to tell us that person they're attacking is actually one of the good guys.
Yeah, absolutely true. All right, so we've gone through the last 4 years, and let's talk about your recent announcement with the Voice of America. Talk about that.
Well, I'm really excited. You know, I'm a journalist at heart. It was hard to leave that career. I didn't leave journalism because I hated being a journalist. I loved it. But when I realized that it was just impossible to be the journalist at the caliber I needed to be, I said, I'm getting out of here. I'm thrilled to go back in and help out, make sure Voice of America, turn it back to its golden years, actually,
right.
where, you know, for 80 years it's been in existence. It is a international broadcast medium. Its viewers are actually international, and it's meant to help bring down communism, bring down Nazism. And we brought a lot of people over to the American ideals and values and crumbled communism in many countries without having to fire a bullet, by putting out stories that talked about democracy, freedom, and liberty. And so I want to make sure that we're continuing to do that. We're going to go into a very historic 4 years, a massively historic 4 years. Sure. Everything that's going to be happening, we need to be covering with fair and accurate news coverage. When President Trump offered me the job, he didn't say, Kari, I want you to go and turn this into a MAGA TV or Trump TV. That's not what he said. He said, please go and make sure the work that Voice of America is doing is fair and accurate. That's all we want, and that's all he wants. And I think that's all the people here want, is fair and accurate coverage.
Boy, that's so true. What do you think? Yeah.
And it should be pro-American. It should be. We're paying for it. We're putting out information about America. It should be pro-America, not anti-America. So I want to make sure that, and we're making sure that the people around the globe are getting an accurate portrayal. It's morning in America, and we're going to make sure that's covered accurately.
So what's your biggest challenge in getting that done?
Well, first I got to get in there, and I've got to make sure this board brings me in. I've got the qualifications, 30-year career as a journalist. You know, unfortunately, the fake news has done a number on me, and they've you know, sometimes I have to go prove to people I don't have horns growing out of my head because everything the fake news has said. And so I understand through some of the reporting that people are afraid and nervous about me. I actually don't want them to feel that way. I want the people at Voice of America to know I want to help usher Voice of America into the next exciting, incredible chapter where we're doing incredible journalism that eyeballs around the world are seeing, and we are spreading democracy, freedom, and liberty around the globe.
That's good. So Americans are looking at you. They've watched the path you've taken. What would you say to encourage the American audience now with this new era, not just with your new job, but this new era and with the president, politics? It feels like a morning in America really is a great way to put it. What would you say to encourage them?
I don't know that I need to encourage them. I think everyone's feeling like their hard work has paid off. Yeah. Let's go back 7, 8 years. You know, a lot of us, I loved President Trump the minute he came down the escalator, but as a journalist, you know, I was fair and I covered it fairly. A lot more people have gotten involved. A lot more people are realizing, just like Benjamin Franklin said, you've got a republic if you can keep it. And 10 years ago, I don't think the American people were doing a great job on the if you can keep it part. We were kind of in a slumber, living our lives, feeling like if we just voted, we were doing our civic duty. It's so much more than that. And because of President Trump opening our eyes to a lot of the craziness happening and corruption, we have gotten off the couch, we've gotten in the game, we're involved, and what I would say is don't stop. Keep going.
There it is.
We saw this last week with this CR, how the American people, with all of the energy we put into helping get President Trump reelected, knocking on doors, getting involved, chasing ballots like TPUSA did, we've seen that works, and we're taking back our government. It's going back to we the people. But the work is just beginning now. If we thought the past was work, now the work. We need to make sure we're supporting the policies that the administration is putting out. And when we see people in D.C. who are trying to thwart the will of the people, we got to use that energy we have to call them out. I'm excited about the next 4 years. We're witnessing history in the most incredible way. You know, somebody called it a timeline. Aren't you glad to be in this timeline?
Amen.
This is a pretty exciting timeline. Even though there's struggle, even though we've sacrificed, we're living in an incredibly historic timeline, and I'm just thankful that God put me here. Even when I'm down and out, and I've been down and out plenty of times, I'm so thankful that God thinks highly enough of me and us to put us here because
for this
He
time.
needs us for this
That's
time.
Right.
He
Kari
needs us
Lake,
for this time.
thank you so much.
Thank you, Gene.
Thank you.
Love you. We love what you do, and you put on one of the best newscasts out there. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Would you give her a hand, everybody? Kari Lake.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
It's breathtaking. In a few years, we watched America slide into lawlessness, madness, and darkness. How can we have fallen so far, so fast? Now, just when it's most needed, a new book offers a diagnosis and the cure for what ails our great nation. The disease, a tsunami of darkness threatening to wash away all we hold dear if we don't act now. In their book, Killing America, Turning the Tide on the Tsunami of Darkness, Gene Bailey, host of the groundbreaking news program FlashPoint, and his wife Terry go beyond the litany of outrage and tragedy and chart a course that leads to America's restoration and renewal. In it, you'll find hope, help, and even humor as you discover inspired keys to counter that tsunami of darkness with a deluge of everlasting light. Don't wait. Order your copy at killingamericabook.com or call 877-281-6297.